I'd love to hear the story of how you found AI or how AI found you.
It's a doozy. It's got romance and drama and kissing.
Ooh.
So it's affected my life on all the layers of living, intellectually, and then that translates emotionally into a completely different orientation to how I'm experiencing the world and myself, and possibility and past and present and future. And it opens up a whole, the word I can use is liberating. Appreciative inquiry has liberated me.
It's a much more optimistic, productive, inspiring kind of place to be. So it's been transformational in terms of my practice, the world that I live in.
Well, I simply put now my energy on the potentialities of who I am instead of looking at what should be fixed.
And I was still coming from this place of, well, here's another great method that I can put into my toolkit. Yet I had no idea how I would be so personally impacted by the principles that transformed me and the practices that lit me up all the time whenever I do this work.
So what do you want then? And so I've always felt that behind every negative is a positive expectation, I've said to people.
Tanto como metodología, pero también llevar a la gente lo que subyace, el verdadero corazón, sus principios, en qué se basa, en esto de mirar las fortalezas, de creer que el otro puede, tratarlo desde ese lado y hacer crecer aquello que vos querés ver en tu vida.
What the power of community and bringing a community together in an experience of yes. I had a person there whose son had committed suicide with mental health issues, and just a lot of people, and people were just felt so seen and heard that never got seen and heard before. And it was just everybody, people sitting at tables having conversations that would never have had a conversation before.
What draws me to that approach is, as I mentioned, the positive side. It is powerful, and it was, to me, a complete innovation, and it energized me. And it helped me when I was dealing with other soldiers, other officers, other people, other middle managers in the Canadian Forces.
It really affected the culture, not only the positive framework, but also this notion of gathering large portions of the company to come together to talk about things. So he felt it really had a big effect on the culture. I think it did. I think it created a real sense of camaraderie and closeness and enthusiasm. You know, they had a lot of enthusiasm for their work. That the talent was in the system, that if you just did hierarchies, you were never going to get at the great talent that was everywhere. And he really believed that. I mean, it wasn't just, he believed the principle, but he wouldn't have known how to pull it off. And appreciative inquiry demonstrated how do you actually do that.
And another example I cite is we used appreciative inquiry in reducing the maternal mortality rate in Nepal with the UNICEF. UNICEF hired us, and one of the UK funded project hired us to facilitate a number of workshops in different districts with hospital staff, hospital stakeholders, and in 2 years' time, the Ministry of Health, they recognized that the appreciative inquiry is one of the best practices in helping them reduce the maternal mortality rate and reducing the child mortality at that time.
So they got into their interviews. They're at point in the afternoon, they're getting into changes, and I see this man and he's banging on a table, just banging. And yet everybody's relaxed, they're looking at him, but there's no tension. And as I walk past, I hear him say, yeah, I know we're like-hearted, but I'm not putting up with this. And I thought to myself, where else could you have a way of creating such what Jervis Bush calls a safe container. So that he was clear that he was not attacking anyone or judging them, that they were attacking and judging and really pushing for innovative solutions for the best education.
A process that's 2 4-hour sessions, and each session uses the 4D model in the sense of asking stories that connect with, starting with how they've been told great stories, and then using the data or the experience that comes out of the sharing in a way that allows them to begin to dig into seeing social media in a church context as not something to be scared about.
And so the first meeting that I had with them was about changing their narratives. Okay, what are the stories that you're telling to each other? What are the stories you're telling about each other? And how do you want to shift those stories? And just had a meeting about that. What are the stories that you want to be known for? How do you want others to talk about the organization? And it was a conversation they had never had before. The vision, the mission, the values. The employees gave input around what they wanted the values to be. So these were not just the standard values that had existed. We were having real conversations. They were doing peer conversations about what they wanted those things to be. All of that input was valued, and they had never done that before. It wasn't visible. Things weren't visible. Things that had not been visible before became open, transparent.
The beauty of appreciative inquiry is the many different ways that it can unfold. And if you view yourself as an innovator, the sky's the limit. So I just love playing with it and discovering new ways to use it in my personal and professional life.
Thanks, Tony, for sharing your stories.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for interviewing me. It's nice it's like the good old days.